The Jackson State season preview show is what today will be, as we will take a look. I've already done the 3 games I thought could ruin JSU season. That's already out there. The video's out there. You go check that out. But we're going to take a look ahead at the defending SWAC East champs, SWAC champions, and representatives of the SWAC in the Celebration Bowl, albeit they lost. I'm going to preview their season, talk about some of the guys that I think will stand out, some of the guys that I'm hearing are standing out, and names you need to remember before the season. And don't say I didn't tell you before they broke out during the 2022 season. Let's get it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and a notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, we are here to talk about Jackson State and their season preview. Jackson State are the defending SWAC East champions. Jackson State is defending SWAC champions. Jackson State is the team that represented the SWAC in the 2021 Celebration Bowl, albeit they lost 31-10 to South Carolina State. Let's get that out in the open. But this is a team that lost some big-time players. Antoine Owen went on to play really well in the USFL. James Houston got drafted in the NFL draft by the Detroit Lions, making noise in preseason camp. You saw Warren Newman, the special teams punt return mastermind. He's doing his thing up in the CFL. CJ Holmes, which was their slot corner / safety, that was able to make some plays for them throughout the season last year, throughout the duration of Coach Prime's time. But now you have the number 1 recruiting class in all of FCS that brought in the prize recruit Travis Hunter, along with Kevin Coleman, along with a number of transfers via FCS, FBS. Jackson State went out and got players from everywhere. Jackson State revamped their offensive line. Coach Prime said you could see 5 brand new starters on the O-line, the weakest part of their team last year. Jackson State also went out and got some running back depth and some talent, including Savion Wilkerson, an all-MEAC player last year for Delaware State. He is now in the JSU backfield. And you return the reigning defending Jerry Rice Award winner for Freshman of the Year in all of FCS in Shedeur Sanders as QB1, now with his second year as the starting quarterback of JSU. And you put all that together and you get the Jackson State team, including returning all-SWAC player Malachi Weidman, who led the SWAC with 12 touchdowns last year, all-SWAC performer Aubrey Miller, who led the team in tackles last year. This roster is loaded. Let's not act like it isn't. Let's not pretend like we don't see what we see. This is a loaded roster, and anything outside of an undefeated season and a Celebration Bowl title at the end of the year in December would be a disappointment. Point blank, period. Right? Point blank, period. It looks as if we're going to take a look at the JSU schedule. I just wanted to lay some things out there before we look at the schedule, and it looks as if the OBC could be a different type of game than some of us were expecting. By the time you see this video, you will understand that FAMU as an institution has gone through some compliance issues with the NCAA. And so for those who don't know, compliance issues can go anywhere from grades to just all kinds of things that mess with your eligibility. And the rumor and the reports are, at first there were reports that FAMU's game against North Carolina was going to be canceled. By the time you watch this, you'll probably know whether it's canceled or not. Kyle T. Mosley, shout out to Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends. He said he's spoken to both schools, both North Carolina and FAMU. The game is going to be played, but they could be without some key players, not just in that game, but in their game the next week in the Orange Blossom Classic against Jackson State. And so the OBC on September 4th is going to be huge, because if FAMU is missing big-time players, as a lot of the reports are suggesting that they could possibly be missing big-time players, not just in the North Carolina game, but also in this Jackson State game on September 4th, in Miami, that could change the trajectory of both of these programs' season in one instance if they don't figure out this compliance stuff. And so that game isn't as tough if the reports are true, right? If the rumors are true, they're not even really reports; they're just rumors. If the rumors are true, then this game doesn't have the magnitude as we once believed. But the second game in Memphis, the last Southern Heritage Classic, as we know, is huge because Tennessee State is going to have a dang good team. Coach Eddie George is bringing in a new quarterback, Draylon Ellis, which is one of the top quarterbacks in all of FCS last year at Austin Peay. Tennessee State brought in new pieces on the offensive line. Tennessee State has some nice pieces on the outside. Tennessee State has upgraded their defense from last year. So Tennessee State, who couldn't block Jackson State. They couldn't block James Houston. I think James Houston had 4.5 sacks in that game. So Tennessee State understands that Jackson State is going to send pressure and play man-to-man, and Jeremy Hickbottom, bless his heart, didn't have a chance in the world last year as the starting quarterback at Tennessee State trying to get the ball out while James Houston and company were all in his face the entire game. 4.5 sacks for one young man is just ridiculous. The next week, September 17th, against Grambling. So if I'm not clear, I think JSU wins both of those games. The next week against Grambling is going to be awesome. One, because the Grambling fans continue to let the Jackson State fans know that they haven't beaten them in Jackson in several years, right? But Grambling, by week 3, I think they will have their quarterback situation. Well, technically it's only week 2. They'll have their quarterback situation figured out. And I'll do a preview of Grambling as well because Grambling is one of my favorite SWAC teams. A lot of indications are pointing that Mr. Hawkins is going to win that battle. A lot of folks thought when Chance Amy transferred in from JUCO via Syracuse, he was going to be the front runner. But someone in my comments will continue to let me know that watch out for Mr. Quintavious Hawkins and that Mr. Hawkins is the guy to beat at Grambling in a lot of reports. Now, Coach Hugh Jackson ain't saying nothing, but a lot of reports are like what they see in Mr. Hawkins down in Grambling. I just don't think Hugh Jackson in his first year with the first-year quarterback is going to have enough to beat JSU. Same with Valley. Valley. The coach is not their first year, but they're a building program. They're a program that's going to give JSU problems. Don't see them beating them, though. Just don't. I mean, I just don't. I don't see Bama State with the new quarterback beating Jackson State. Bethune-Cookman don't have a chance. Campbell is the team that I said could ruin their season. But this game on the 29th in Jackson against Southern is interesting. Southern will have a young quarterback. We all think it's going to be Mr. Bashawn McCray. But so that is going to be interesting. By this week, the JSU offense should be clicking. Shedeur should have Coach Bartolone's offense under wraps. The weapons, we should know who are the guys. I think Sevion Wilkerson by the Southern week will show that he is the premier back in the backfield. I think a couple of receivers will have registered that they are the go-to guys, whether that's Weidman, whether that's Trevante Rucker, whether that's Kevin Coleman, whether that's Quay Davis, whoever that may be, they will have established themselves by then, and I think they'll be clicking on all cylinders. I don't think Texas Southern has enough. I think we have to see what Alabama A&M's defense looks like, and we know they can score points. One thing Alabama A&M doesn't struggle to do is score points, except for when they played Jackson State last year. And Aquil Glass was under duress the entire game. They couldn't block anybody. James Houston was wreaking havoc, and they gave up 61 points and was only able to score 15. Alcorn game is a rivalry game. That's always tough, but I think they'll be able to handle Alcorn. And then the SWAC championship, I think, will be a rematch against Southern. I think the SWAC championship will be a rematch against Southern. And I think Southern will play an even better game than they played the first time, but JSU will finish the regular season, in my opinion, undefeated, heading into the Celebration Bowl. And then come Celebration Bowl time, I will be able to give you, a prediction or whatever. We'll hold that off until then. But the reasons why I believe JSU will go undefeated. One, they went 11-1 during the regular season last year with a terrible offensive line. They went 11-1, including undefeated in the SWAC last year, and they couldn't block anybody. Now, granted, nobody could block them. Nope. No one could block the defensive front between Katron Evans, Devontae Davis, James Houston, of course, and Antoine Owens, no one could block JSU. And they lost Antoine Owen. They lost James Houston, of course. But in their eyes, they replaced the impact of one major superstar, right? In James Houston, 16 sacks, 16 and a half sacks or whatever, with a bunch of guys that they think can, make noise off the edge. The Frankie Burgesses of the world, the Antoine Owens of the world. Those, not Antoine Owens, the Antonio Doyles of the world. Obviously, Davis is back. He's an all SWAC preseason first team guy. And so they believe that they have improved that. What I think is going to help Jackson State, even if those guys aren't as good, and I don't expect any of them to be as good as James Houston was last year, is that they have improved the back end tremendously. And this is no offense to Shiloh and Al Young and CJ Holmes of last year. And Shiloh will be back at some point. He's injured. He hasn't been practicing. But adding a Greg Gate, adding some of the guys that they added this offseason to the back end, the Travis Hunter on the outside, the back end is going to help that pass rush tremendously. Because no offense to JSU secondary last year, they were food at times. I saw when Jawan Pass wasn't throwing the ball to James Houston, he completed some big-time passes in that Prairie View game. I saw Southern, when they had a running back at quarterback or a guy that just wasn't that good at quarterback, make plays against that JSU secondary through the air. I saw Corey Fields, when he finally got his head on right in the Celebration Bowl, and they were able to block James Houston, he made plays with Shaq Davis. Shaq Davis tore that JSU secondary up last year. I don't, you can call it however you want. They did. And so the secondary at times was food. Like they when the pass rush wasn't getting there and the quarterbacks actually had time and delivered accurate and on-time balls, the secondary got ate up at times. It was in micro doses, but it was a glaring issue that just fully got exposed in the Celebration Bowl. That I don't see happening this year because the additions that they made to the secondary, I think Nugget will have a better year. Nugget, he didn't have the year a lot of people expected him to have last year. I think he has a better year. I think Travis gives you a legit cornerback on the other side. As long as they don't run him into the ground, have him playing too much offense. If you have him at cornerback, you work him in certain packages on the offensive side of the ball, of course. But if he's able to perfect his craft with the teachings of Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, Travis is going to be a legit serious problem with his athletic prowess and his knowledge of the game at the cornerback position. Adding those safeties, though, adding those guys in the back end, the Greg Gates of the world, and guys to the linebacking core. Keontae Hampton was a big loss. I haven't talked about him, but you're replacing him with guys that have been able to do it at the next level. The Michael Pleas of the world, the Durante of the world, the Durante guys of the world. That is going to help you a ton. I think this JSU defense as an overall unit could be better. I'm not saying we're going to have a superstar and you bring back Aubrey Miller. Aubrey Miller is a guy that's going to be in contention for SWAC Defensive Player of the Year and FCS Defensive Player of the Year, the Buck Buchanan Award. I think Aubrey is poised to have a season like that to where he's going to be a finalist for the Buck Buchanan Award and could potentially walk away with the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year award. And that's saying a lot because the SWAC is bringing back a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball, from Isaiah Land at FAMU, Jordan Lewis and Jason Dumas at Southern, Irashad Davis at Alabama State, just a ton of big-time guys. And I think Aubrey Miller could be the best among all of them, having a season that great. I expect JSU to go undefeated during the regular season. The secondary is improved. I think you can still, with the way that they play, the way that they blitz, the man-to-man, Nugget on one side playing man-to-man, Travis on the other side playing man-to-man, and those guys up front, you're going to find some winners. Somebody's going to stand out from the bunch, right? Somebody's going to make some plays. I think Davis on the inside and Antonio Doyle on the outside are guys that can make a bunch of plays for JSU. But the emergence of the offensive line's got to be better. If the offensive line is better, don't be surprised if Savion Wilkerson comes out and just has a monster year. Savion Wilkerson is that good. Savion Wilkerson, as soon as he got to JSU, he instantly became a top 3 back in the SWAC. Caleb Johnson, Gary Coyles, and Savion Wilkerson, in my eyes. In my eyes. I could be wrong. But I think he instantly became a top 3 back in the SWAC, and adding that back, adding the run game element to an air raid offense, an offense that wants to see Shedeur Sanders throw for 4,000 yards, throw for 40 touchdowns, but to have the ability to run the ball when you need to, something they couldn't do last year on a consistent basis. Running the ball on a consistent basis with that Dennis Thurman defense, that attack style defense led by Coach Thurman. This is gearing up to be a special, special year for Coach Prime and the JSU Tigers. A year so special, I think we could see them 12-0 heading into the December Celebration Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm seeing that. The reason, the improvement, but it has to be an improvement on offensive line. Savion's going to do his thing. I have no doubt in my mind Savion's a major upgrade over the running backs that they had last year. Tyson Alexander coming back will be a good 1-2 punch between Alexander and Savion Wilkerson. Shedeur Sanders with another year of experience. He's got a new OC, so he had to learn a new offense, but he's a year older. He's a year more mature. He's going to have a better O-line, and he still put up 3,500 yards and still won all types of awards with a bad O-line and no running game, essentially. Now you give him a running game and what's supposed to be an upgrade at the offensive line. I think Shedeur is thinking first-round pick. Shedeur wants to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft when his time comes. And the only way you're able to be a first-round pick, look at the history of first-round picks from FCS conferences. The Carson Wentzes of the world, the Joe Flaccos of the world, the Trey Lances of the world. The only way you become a first-round pick from FCS conferences is to go out there and have – Trey Lance's stats were just insane, right? You got to go out there and put up big-time numbers, and Shedeur and his dad, Coach Prime, understand that. And that's why they switched up the offense. That's why they went out and signed 10 offensive linemen. They're looking for Shedeur to have a 4,000-yard season. They're looking for Shedeur to put up between 35 and 40 touchdowns. They're looking for Shedeur to go crazy this year. And he went crazy last year, his first year starting. His first year playing in front of real fans. Like, I want everybody to understand, Shedeur played at a small school in Texas, Trinity Christian. They had like 2,000, 3,000 people, maybe 4 or 5 on a big game. 4,000 or 5,000 people show up to the games. There wasn't a lot of people that came to these games. They were in a private school league, and they won all the time. So a lot of people didn't come. He came to Jackson State where they playing away games in front of 20,000. Playing away games in front of 15 to 20,000. These are quadruple the amounts of amounts of fans that he played in front of in high school. And then when you played at home, you played in front of average of 42,000. Homecoming, you got 50. Another game, you got 60,000 fans. You average 42,000, an FCS record. I think that number goes up to 50,000 average this year. That's just me guessing. So last year was an eye-opener for him, and he handled it with poise and just magnificence. So what you think he's going to do this year with an upgrade at the offensive line, an upgrade at wide receivers, and an upgrade at running back? I think the dude's going to have a special, special year. And I think the defense could potentially be even better because of the upgrades they made in the secondary. Not necessarily with the upgrades they made on the front seven, but in the secondary. And if guys can hold their coverage a half a second longer, even without a guy like a James Houston, those front seven guys, they're gonna find that quarterback. They're gonna make their way back to the quarterback. And with the upgrade in quarterback talent in the SWAC, having a better secondary is crucial. Alabama State feel like they hit a home run at quarterback. We won't know, and at least until tomorrow we get a first look at them and the MEAC SWAC Classic. But they feel like they got an upgraded quarterback. Valley feels like they got an upgraded quarterback. Hugh Jackson brought in 5 quarterbacks. He got an upgraded quarterback. You get what I'm saying? Southern brought in a new quarterback. They feel like they got an upgraded quarterback. FAMU replaced their quarterback. Their quarterback came back, and Rashawn McKay, and they replaced them with Musa. So there's teams, the SWAC, as an overall conference, has gotten better at the QB position, so your secondary's got to be better. And they got to try at least to hold coverage a half a second longer to allow the defensive front to do what they potentially are able to do. I think there's going to be a star that comes out of there. I don't know who, but somebody on that JSU defensive line, they just brought in too much talent for no one to emerge as a star on that front seven. Hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. So my prediction, JSU, 12-0 regular season. Celebration Bowl, when we get there, we'll discuss that. And the time when they lose, if they lose, let me not say when they lose. If they lose the regular season game, we'll have a big call-in show and discuss what the hell happened. Because if they lose, it'll be a surprise to me. And whether you admit it or not, it'll probably be a surprise to you. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below on the Jackson State Tigers. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the Tigers head into the 2022 season as overwhelming favorites to win the SWAC East and to win the SWAC and represent the conference once again in the Celebration Bowl. Coach Prime said his mission is not just to win. He said, we won last year. We want to dominate. Will they dominate the SWAC this year? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments down below. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. You see it. Hit the thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe this channel. JeffLightsYJr YouTube channel. We're on the road to 4K. Also subscribe to the Black Boss Channel. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That is on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and I will see you next time. Peace.